Hello guys, this is Bhushan and today I'm gonna teach you what is a Keras library, and I'll try to explain all the concepts of Keras library and how to compile a model in Keras library. Okay, now let us get started with our video. Now what is Keras? Keras is a library. Keras is a high-level neural networks API capable of running on top of TensorFlow, Theano and CNTK. Now what does it enables us to do? It enables fast experimentation through a high-level, user-friendly, modular and extensible API. Keras can also be run on both CPU and GPU. Keras was developed and is maintained by Francis Cholet and is a part of TensorFlow core, which makes it TensorFlow's preferred high-level API. Okay. Now how to install Keras in your system? You can just pass this command on your terminal, that is pip install Keras or conda install Keras, and the Keras will be automatically installed in your computer. Okay, now loading in a dataset. Keras provides 7 different datasets which can be loaded in using Keras directly. These include image dataset as well as house prices and a movie review datasets. We will use MNIST dataset, which contains 7000 28x28 grayscale images with 10 different classes. Keras splits in a training set with 60,000 instances and a testing set with 10,000 instances. Now from Keras.datasets import MNIST. Now what is MNIST? MNIST is one of the 7 different datasets. So we import MNIST from Keras, and then we have to pass the parameter xtrain, ytrain, that is the training set, xtest, ytest, which is equal to mnist.load data, and the data will be loaded. And how much instances would be passed in training set? 60,000, and in the test set 10,000. So this is how Keras loads a dataset. Okay. Now to fit the images of a convolutional neural network, we transform the data frame to 4 dimensions. This can be done using the NumPys. NumPy is already also an library like Keras, and we use NumPys here because we need the reshape method which is present in NumPys. Okay. This can be done using NumPy's reshape method. We also transform the data into floats and normalize it. Okay, this last line was quite important. We also transform the data into floats and then we normalize it. So you can see in the code, the first line is xtrain is equal to xtrain.astype float 32, and second line is also same just for the testing set instead of the training set. That is second, xtest is equal to xtest.astype float 32. What we are doing here is xtrain was first an integer type value, but we converted it into a float, and then the third and the fourth line says that xtrain divided by 255, and fourth line says xtest divided by 255. What does this mean is xtrain is equal to xtrain divided by 255. We have actually normalized the value of xtrain and xtest. The values of xtrain and xtest would be higher like 10,000 and 60,000, as we had seen in the earlier case when we loaded the dataset. So the value after divided by 255 would be approximately equal to 50. So we have normalized the values of xtrain and xtest. Now sixth line says xtrain is equal to xtrain dot reshape. We have used this reshape method to reshape the xtrain and xtest, and we have to pass 4 parameters in the reshape method because we are transforming the data frame to 4 dimensions. Okay, and so what are the dimensions here? Xtrain dot shape 0, 28, 28, 1. Okay. Now we will also transform our labels into one hot encoding using the two categorical methods from Keras. Now what is one hot encoding? For categorical variables where no such ordinal relationship exists, the integer encoding is not enough. In fact, using this encoding and allowing the model to assume a natural ordering between categories may result in poor performance or unexpected results, prediction halfway between categories. In this case, a hot encoding can be applied to the integer representation. This is where the integer encoded variable is removed and a new binary variable is added for each unique integer value. In the color variable example, there are three categories and therefore three binary variables are needed. One value is placed in the binary variable for the color and 0 values for the other colors. Now we need to import the two categorical method from Keras. So from keras.utils import two categorical and then ytrain is equal to two categorical ytrain comma 10 and ytest is equal to two categorical ytest comma 10. Okay. So that's now we will discuss how to create a model in Keras library by using a Keras library. This can be done by two ways, by using a sequential API or by using a functional API. Now the easiest way of creating a model in Keras is by using a sequential API, but there are even problems using the sequential API. We will see that what are the problems. Now the sequential API lets you stack one layer after the other. The problem with the sequential API is that it does not allow models to have multiple inputs or outputs, which are needed for some problems. Now some problems would be needing that we have to input two layers together, but sequential API allows one layer after one layer. So that's the problem with sequential API. For such problems we use functional API, but functional API is bit complex than sequential API, and sequential API is the basic of all and it is very simple. Nevertheless, the sequential API is a perfect choice for most problems. So most problems deal with only one layer and most of the problems do not have multiple layers. So sequential API is widely used and it is a perfect choice for most of the problems. To create a convolutional neural networks, we only need to create a sequential object and use the add function to add layers. So how do we create a model? We create a sequential object and then we use the add function to add the layers to the sequential. Now the first line says from keras.models import sequential, and sequential is an Keras object and we have imported it from the Keras library under the sub library models. Now from keras.layers we have imported conf2d, maxpol2d, dense, flatten and dropout. Okay. Now we set model is equal to sequential, that is we have created an object of model, a sequential object of model. Then we use the add function to add the layer. First we will add conf2d, the model dot add conf2d and we pass the parameters. Similarly for maxpol 2d, dropout 2d and flatten. Now you can see that we can add a layer by layer, like model dot add conf 2d, and we cannot add two layers at a time. So this is what a sequential API would look like. Now we can also add a sequential API, we can also add the layers in a sequential API in the constructor itself. The code above creates a sequential object and adds a few conventional max pooling and dropout layers. It then flattens the output and it passes it to last dense and dropout layer before passing it to our output layer. If you aren't confident build a conventional neural network, we can use another method. The sequential API also supports another syntax where the layers are passed to the constructor directly. So we'll see how the layers are passed into the constructor itself. Now the code is exactly the same, just instead of creating the model, we create a constructor and we pass the layers into the constructor itself. Okay, so this is what a sequential API looks like, and I will give you an overview of sequential API once again. Sequential API is the easiest way of creating a model, but it has a problem. What's the problem? The problem is that it can create one layer after another layer and it cannot create multiple layers at a time. So for this we use functional API. So let us see what a functional API is. Creating a model with the functional API. Now alternatively, the functional API allows you to create the same models but offers you more flexibility at the cost of simplicity and readability. It can be used with multiple input and output layers as well as shared layers, which enables you to build really complex network structures. When using the functional API, we always need to pass the previous layer to the current layer. It also requires the use of an input layer. Okay, let us see how to create. First of all, we import model from keras.models. Now we import the layers from keras.layers. Then we create the object inputs is equal to input shapex comma shapex underscore train dot shape 1. Then what we do is we take x is equal to and we pass the layer as we told here in the definition, that when using the functional API we always need to pass the previous layer to the current layer. The sixth line we pass we first create the current layer. The current layer here would be conf2d etc etc, and now in the seventh layer we have x is equal to the sixth line, but in the seventh layer we have passed the previous layer to the current layer. In this way we can add multiple layers in our model. Okay, so the 21st line says model is equal to model inputs and outputs is equal to predictions. This is where we are outputting our layers together. Now let us see how to compile a model. Now before we can start training a model, we need to configure the learning process. For this, we need to specify an optimizer, a loss function, and optionally some metrics like accuracy. The loss function is a measure on how good our model is achieving the given objective. An optimizer is used to minimize the loss or the objective function by updating the weights using the gradients. So loss function, accuracy and optimizer are the three main things that we need to keep in mind while compiling a model. Now what is an optimizer? What is the objective of an optimizer? It is to minimize the loss. And what is loss? A loss is a measure on how good our model is achieving the given objective. And accuracy is how good our function is in reducing the loss. Okay, now this is the function how we compile our model. Model.compile, we use loss is equal to categorically is equal to cross entropy, and optimizer is equal to Adam, and metrics is equal to accuracy. Okay, now augmenting image data. Augmentation is a process of creating more data from existing ones. Now, what are this more data that we can create from an existing one? For images, you can do little transformations like rotating the image, zooming into the image, adding noise, and many more. This helps to make the model more robust and solves the problem of having not enough data. Keras has the method called image data generator which can be used for augmenting images. Let us see what an image data generator does. Now we have to first import image data generator from Keras. Now we use the library keras.preprocessing.image. Okay, then we create an object of datagen. Datagen is equal to image data generator, and what we are doing is rotation range is equal to 10. That would eventually rotate the object. Zoom range is equal to 0.1. That would zoom the object, zoom out the object. Width shift range 0.1, that is we are shifting the range of the width by 0.1, and height shift range is equal to 0.1. So these are the various processes that we can do using image data generator. There are many more methods that we can use using image data generator. This image data generator will create new images that have been rotated, zoomed in or out, and shifted in width and height. We have passed everything into the constructor itself. We can also create an object and then pass it like we do it in sequential API, but this is also a correct method. Okay, now let's see how to fit a model. Now that we defined and compiled our model, it's ready for training. To train a model, we would normally use the fit method, but because we are using a data generator, we will use fit generator and pass it to the various list. What are the things we need to, we will pass it to? First, the generator, x data, y data, as well as the number of epochs and the batch size. We also pass it to validation set, so we can monitor the loss and accuracy on both sets, and as well as to steps per epoch. Now how do we calculate steps per epoch? We calculate it by using the generator, and it is just set to the length of training set divided by the batch size. Now first we define the number of epochs, that is 3, and the batch size is 32. Now we create an object history. History is equal to model.fit generator, and we have to pass it to the following data chain is equal to flow, and we have to pass it to the following parameters, that is x train, y train, batch size is equal to batch size. We have predefined the batch size. Then comma epochs is equal to epochs. Validation is equal to data is equal to x test comma y test, and steps per epochs we have defined the formula. It is the length of the training set divided by batch size. Okay, now we will get the following result. We get the epoch and we get the loss and accuracy. For epoch 1/5 we have loss 0.045 and accuracy 0.9741, and similarly for second, third, fourth and fifth we get the epoch value and accuracy and loss for every step. Okay, now visualizing the training process. We can visualize our training and testing accuracy and loss for each epoch, so we can get the intuition about the performance of a model. The accuracy and loss over epochs are saved in the history variable we got while training, and we will use matplot to visualize this data. So you can see that we have saved it, we have saved the epochs that we got in the history object. Okay, now we need to plot accuracy versus epochs. So we are going to use matplot library. So import matplot.pyplot as plt. Now we have created an object plt. So plt.plot, now we have epoch stored in history. So history.history acc label is equal to training accuracy, and history.history value underscore acc label is equal to testing accuracy. We have loaded training accuracy and testing accuracy into our plot, and then plt is equal to title, y axis would be accuracy, and x label would be epochs, and y label would be accuracy. Okay. And the title of our plot would be accuracy. You can see on the top it is accuracy. Now plt dot legend, that is plot the plot. Okay, and thus we get the graph of accuracy versus epoch. Now we will see the plot of loss versus epochs. So everything is same, just the x label and y label would change, and we need to pass history loss. We can see here it was history acc, that is accuracy, that we have in our history. In the graphs above, we can see that our model isn't overfitting, as well as that we could train more epochs because the validations loss is still decreasing. Okay, now conclusion. Keras is a high-level neural networks API capable of running on top of TensorFlow, Theano, and CNTK. It enables fast experimentation through a high-level, user-friendly, modular, and extensible API, and as well as running on the CPU and GPU. This article was the first of the little series going over how Keras works. In it, we went over the installation as well as how to create simple convolutional neural networks. I hope you all have understood what an Keras library is and how to create a model and how to fit a model. Thank you very much.